wealthy young man was a nice young man. He said that he kept all the commandments from his youth. Bravo. He comes across as someone who wants to build back better. And Jesus tells him there's no such thing as a free lunch. Jesus tells this young man that if he wants eternal life, that he must become a disciple and must be willing to give up all of those things that he's been attached to all his life, all his wealth, even his friends, even his family. This is shocking. And I think for all of us here, if we hear that, we're going to say, I couldn't do that either. Let's be very honest about that. Every one of us, including me, would find that very, very difficult to do. What Jesus is talking about here is discipleship, how to be a disciple. And that's what gains us entrance into eternal life. If we do not become disciples, he says that it's easier for the camel to get through the than to enter into the kingdom of heaven. You have some people that try to modify what we mean by the eye of a needle. Oh, well, that's what the Jewish people called the camel going through a big cactus bush. That's not what it means. It's not what it means. It means exactly what it means. Going through the eye of a needle. Without Christ, we cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. Let's talk about what discipleship means. First of all, I'm going to recommend to you a book. Anybody ever hear of Dietrich Bonhoeffer? Great Lutheran pastor who lived during the Nazi occupation of Germany. And he wrote this book, The Cost of Discipleship. And he put his money where his mouth was, because he did everything he could to put an end to the Nazi regime. So much so that he left the United States, traveled back to Nazi Germany, ran an underground seminary, published articles condemning the Nazis, just as the Allies were ready to invade Germany. Bonhoeffer was captured and hanged by the Nazis. That's the cost of discipleship. Willing to give up everything for your belief in Jesus Christ. Get the book, The Cost of Discipleship. Let me give you a few examples, and you can make the judgment yourself as to perhaps who's living discipleship and where do you stand. See, whenever I talk to you, it's not about somebody else. It's about you. And where do you stand? And how are you living your life? And what do you really believe? There was a young man a number of years ago. I was the director of the Family Life Office in New Jersey. And everything kind of fell under family life, from pro-life to even marriage preparation. And so when I took over the office, I thought it might be a good idea to give out little reminders to people about pro-life. So I had some mugs designed. And it said on the mugs, "Choose life." And I gave them out to different people who I met. I used to even carry them in my car. And I have a carton of mugs and give them out. There was a young man, he was a very, very fine young man, reminded me very much of this young man with his wealth. He kept all the commandments. And to this day, I maintain a relationship with him. He keeps all the commandments. But there is something missing. This. When I handed him the cup, "Choose Life," I said, "Here, you just got a new job. When you have your coffee break, use this cup." You know what he said to me? He said, "Father, I would love to." He said, "But if people in the office see that, it won't go over big, and they won't like me. So I'll just use it at home. Is that okay?" Well, if that's okay for you, if that works for you, go ahead. But that is not discipleship, is it? Would you do the same thing? I can't bring this cup to my office. I can't let people see that I am pro-life. I'll just do it in my house. That way I can keep my job and everybody will like me. See? The story of this rich young man continues. And probably a good number of us here would do the same thing. I'll drink my coffee from that cup in my house. Not discipleship. Second story is one that I shared with you a number of months ago, and we'll see where the difference is here. Young man I taught in law school. A very, very fine young man. And he has 5 children. He got a job working for one of the Midwestern states. I won't even identify the state. Working in the Attorney General's office. And he received a request from his superior to change a birth certificate of someone who thought that they were transgender. They wanted to become a girl, although they were born a boy. And he called me up and he said, "Isn't that a violation of God's law? God made us male and female, and I don't want to take part in changing someone's birth certificate. What should I do?" Now, believe me, I try to figure every angle I can to keep people out of trouble or to preserve someone's livelihood. But I said, I can't tell you go ahead and do it because you're participating in something that is wrong, evil. He said, but it's up to you. You have the 5 kids, I don't. So he informed his boss, he said, I can't do this. It's against my faith. The boss said, well, you could lose your job. But I'll let it go this time, but I can't let it go in the future. He called me up 2 weeks later and he said to me, I decided I can't work there anymore. It violates my conscience and I can't do it again. Was he living out discipleship? Yeah. Do you see the difference between young man 1 and young man 2? There is an enormous difference. Make a long story short, I got a phone call from this attorney a couple of days ago. He said to me, Father, I want you to know, I quit my job. I'm not getting that big paycheck anymore, but I'm doing better than ever. I'm taking in private work, and I'm starting my own Christian music company. And the money is rolling in. God takes care of those people who live out their discipleship. Not always with more riches, but God takes care of us insofar as God wills that we be saved. Now, this gospel is very truthful. Jesus never lies to us. He never tells us that discipleship is going to be easy. Because right at the end, after he tells us all of these things of what discipleship means and the rewards of discipleship, he says, and persecution besides. And where does that come from? This Gospel of Mark was written in Rome during the time of the Emperor Nero, and Christians were being persecuted in Rome. And so this gospel is talking about the real life experiences of those who practice discipleship. Sometimes it's going to hurt. Sometimes you have to stick your neck out and say, I can't do that. Or sometimes you have to say, yes, I must do that. The disciples at the end of this gospel are flummoxed. They say, then this is hard. Who can be saved? Who can be saved? The one that embraces Jesus. Some of you might remember a president named Jimmy Carter. He gets some giggles when you mention his name, but he is a Christian. He is a Christian. And he said very wisely that he had to embrace Jesus because he realized he was a sinner. And you know what he said? He realized it when one day somebody proposed to him, what is the most important thing in your life? And he said, my political career. And right then and there, it hit him. He was not a disciple. And so he decided that at that moment, he saw his weakness. He saw that he could not possibly live up to the gospel message, that he was failing in discipleship. And he embraced Jesus Christ. Why? As I said, build back better is bogus. Jesus knew it was bogus. The only way we build back better our spiritual life, as a matter of fact, even our earthly life, is to embrace Jesus Christ, because he has paid the price for our human weakness. He's paid the price because he shed his precious blood. And unless we embrace him and beg his mercy and let him be the Lord of our life, we will never enter into the kingdom of heaven. God love you.